Have you ever wondered what makes you, you? What's behind your thoughts, feelings, and experiences? These questions lead us into the fascinating world of consciousness. It's a topic that has puzzled philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries, and today we're going to explore it together. Consciousness is at the core of who we are, yet it's one of the most mysterious aspects of our existence. It's the inner voice in our heads, the vivid sensations we feel, and the awareness that we exist. But what exactly is it? How does it work, and why do we have it at all? In this video, we'll dive deep into the mysteries of consciousness. We'll look at what science knows so far, what we're still trying to figure out, and why understanding consciousness matters for all of us. Let's start with the basics. What is consciousness? At its simplest, consciousness is our subjective experience of the world and ourselves. It's the feeling of being aware, of having inner thoughts and sensations. When you see the color red, taste something sweet, or feel happy, that's your consciousness at work. But defining consciousness is just the beginning. Studying it is incredibly challenging because it's so personal and subjective. We can't directly observe someone else's consciousness or measure it with scientific instruments. This makes it different from many other topics in science, where we can see, touch, or measure what we're studying. This challenge leads us to what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem asks, how do physical processes in our brains create subjective experiences? In other words, how does the firing of neurons in our brains lead to the rich inner world of our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions? Think about it this way. We can look at brain scans and see which parts of the brain are active when someone is thinking or feeling something. But those scans don't show us the actual thoughts or feelings. There's a gap between what we can observe in the brain and the subjective experience of consciousness. This gap is what makes consciousness such a fascinating and difficult topic to study. There are different views on how to approach this challenge. Some scientists believe that with enough research, we'll eventually understand how the brain creates consciousness. Others think there might be fundamental limits to what science can tell us about subjective experience. Some even suggest that consciousness might be a basic feature of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. Despite these challenges, scientists and philosophers have developed several theories to explain consciousness. One popular idea is called global workspace theory. This theory suggests that consciousness arises when different parts of the brain share information. Imagine your brain as a big company with many departments. When important information is broadcast to all departments, that's when it becomes part of your conscious experience. Another influential theory is integrated information theory. This theory proposes that consciousness is a fundamental property of any system that processes information in certain complex ways. According to this view, consciousness isn't just in our brains. It might exist to some degree in all sorts of systems, from simple organisms to complex machines. These theories are just the beginning. There are many other ideas about how consciousness works, and scientists are constantly developing new ways to test and refine these theories. One important aspect of consciousness research is understanding its different levels. We're not always equally conscious. Think about the difference between being wide awake, daydreaming, or being in a deep sleep. These are all different states of consciousness. When we're fully awake and alert, our consciousness is at its peak. We're aware of our surroundings, our thoughts, and our feelings. But even in this state, a lot of what our brains do happens outside of our conscious awareness. Our brains are constantly processing information and making decisions without us being aware of it. As we start to relax or get tired, our consciousness can shift. We might start daydreaming, where our thoughts wander and we become less aware of our surroundings. In this state, we're still conscious, but our awareness is turned more inward. When we sleep, our consciousness changes even more dramatically. In light sleep, we might still be somewhat aware of our surroundings, but in deep sleep, our conscious experience becomes very limited. We're not aware of our thoughts or surroundings in the same way we are when we're awake. Then there's the fascinating state of dreaming. When we dream, we can have vivid experiences that feel real, even though we're asleep. This shows how our brains can create complex conscious experiences even when we're not awake and processing information from our senses. There are also altered states of consciousness, which can be induced by meditation, certain drugs, or even extreme situations like sensory deprivation. These states can give us insights into how flexible and varied our conscious experiences can be. Understanding these different levels of consciousness is important for several reasons. It helps us appreciate the complexity of our minds and the different ways we can experience the world. It also has practical applications in fields like medicine, where understanding levels of consciousness is crucial for treating conditions like coma or anesthesia. But consciousness isn't just about humans. One of the most intriguing questions in this field is, do other animals have consciousness? And if they do, what is it like? We know that many animals have complex brains and behaviors. They can solve problems, communicate, and show emotions. But do they have subjective experiences like we do? Do they have an inner mental life? Scientists have developed various ways to try to answer these questions. One famous test is called the mirror test. In this test, researchers put a mark on an animal in a place they can't normally see, like their forehead. Then they show the animal a mirror. If the animal tries to touch or remove the mark after seeing itself in the mirror, it suggests they recognize themselves and have some level of self-awareness. Several species have passed this test, including great apes, elephants, dolphins, and even some birds like magpies. This suggests that these animals might have some form of self-awareness, which is often considered an important part of consciousness. But the mirror test has its limitations. Some animals might not care about a mark on their body, or might not understand how mirrors work. And self-awareness is just one aspect of consciousness. An animal could be conscious without recognizing itself in a mirror. Other research looks at animal behavior and brain structure to try to understand their mental experiences. For example, we know that many animals dream during sleep, which suggests they might have some form of inner experience. The question of animal consciousness has important ethical implications. If animals are conscious and can suffer, it affects how we should treat them. This is why research in this area is so important and why it's closely linked to discussions about animal welfare and rights. As we think about consciousness in animals, we can't help but wonder, could we create consciousness in machines? This brings us to the fascinating and sometimes controversial topic of artificial consciousness. Artificial intelligence, AI, has made huge strides in recent years. We now have machines that can play complex games, recognize faces, and even engage in conversations. But are these machines conscious? Do they have subjective experiences like we do? Currently, the answer is no. The AI systems we have today, no matter how sophisticated, are not conscious in the way humans are. They can process information and perform tasks, but they don't have subjective experiences or self-awareness as far as we know. But some researchers are working on creating artificial consciousness. They're trying to build machines that don't just process information, but have inner experiences like we do. This is an incredibly challenging task because we still don't fully understand how consciousness works in biological brains, let alone how to create it artificially. The possibility of artificial consciousness raises many ethical questions. If we could create a conscious machine, what rights would it have? Would it be wrong to turn it off? How would we know if it was really conscious or just very good at imitating consciousness? These questions might seem like science fiction, but as AI continues to advance, they're becoming more and more relevant. Understanding consciousness is crucial for navigating the ethical challenges of AI development. While we're exploring the frontiers of consciousness in technology, there's another area that pushes the boundaries of what we know: near-death experiences. These are the vivid, often life-changing experiences that some people report having when they're close to death. People who have had near-death experiences often describe feelings of peace, seeing a bright light, or having their life flash before their eyes. Some report feeling separated from their body or encountering deceased loved ones. These experiences are fascinating because they seem to challenge our understanding of consciousness. How can people have such vivid experiences when their brains are in a state of extreme stress or even shutdown. Scientists have proposed various explanations for near-death experiences. Some suggest they're the result of the brain's response to extreme stress, possibly involving the release of certain chemicals. Others point to the effects of oxygen deprivation on the brain. But for many people who have had these experiences, they feel profoundly real and meaningful. Near-death experiences often lead to significant changes in people's beliefs and attitudes towards life and death. Whether you see near-death experiences as evidence of an afterlife or as interesting phenomena of the brain under extreme conditions, they highlight how much we still have to learn about consciousness, especially in unusual states. While near-death experiences give us a glimpse of consciousness in extreme situations, there are also ways we can explore and expand our consciousness in everyday life. Meditation and mindfulness practices have been used for thousands of years to deepen awareness and change how we experience consciousness. Meditation involves focusing the mind and often leads to a state of heightened awareness and calm. Regular meditation practice has been shown to change how the brain functions, potentially leading to lasting changes in how we experience consciousness. Mindfulness, which is often practiced through meditation, involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It can help us become more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations, expanding our conscious experience of the world around us and our inner lives. Another area of research into expanded consciousness involves psychedelics. Substances like psilocybin, found in certain mushrooms, and LSD can dramatically alter consciousness, often leading to profound and sometimes life-changing experiences. Research on psychedelics suggests they can change how different parts of the brain communicate, leading to altered states of consciousness. Some studies have found that carefully controlled use of psychedelics can have lasting positive effects on mental health and well-being. It's important to note that psychedelics can also be dangerous and are illegal in many places. The research on their effects on consciousness is done in controlled medical settings, but this research is opening up new ways of understanding how our brains create our conscious experiences. As we look to the future, the study of consciousness is entering an exciting new phase. New tools and technologies are giving us unprecedented insights into how the brain works. Advanced brain imaging techniques allow us to see the brain in action with incredible detail. We can now track the activity of individual neurons and see how different parts of the brain communicate with each other. Artificial intelligence is also playing a role in consciousness research. AI models of the brain can help us test theories about how consciousness might work, and as AI systems become more sophisticated, they might help us understand the differences between intelligent information processing and conscious experience. There's also growing interest in studying consciousness across different cultures and belief systems. This could help us understand how cultural factors shape our conscious experiences and our understanding of consciousness itself. Some researchers are even exploring the possibility that consciousness might be related to quantum processes in the brain. While this idea is still speculative, it shows how the study of consciousness is pushing into new and unexpected areas. As we make progress in understanding consciousness, we might be on the verge of some major breakthroughs. We might soon have a much clearer picture of how the brain creates our subjective experiences. Or we might discover that consciousness works in ways we never expected. But why does all this matter? Why should we care about understanding consciousness? First, understanding consciousness is key to understanding ourselves. Our conscious experiences are at the core of who we are as individuals. They shape our personalities, our decisions, and our relationships. By understanding consciousness better, we gain deeper insights into human nature and our place in the world. Second, consciousness research has important practical applications. It can help us develop better treatments for mental health conditions, improve education by understanding how we learn and process information, and even guide the development of AI in more ethical and beneficial directions. Third, exploring consciousness touches on some of the deepest questions humans have asked throughout history. What is the nature of reality? What happens to consciousness after death? Are we alone in the universe as conscious beings? While science might not be able to fully answer these questions, consciousness research can provide new perspectives on these age-old puzzles. Finally, as we face global challenges like climate change and social inequality, understanding consciousness could help us develop more empathy and connection with others and our environment. It could lead to new ways of thinking about our relationship with the world and each other. The study of consciousness is one of the most exciting frontiers in science and philosophy today. It's a field that combines cutting-edge technology with age-old questions about the nature of experience and reality. We've covered a lot of ground in this video, from the basic definition of consciousness to theories about how it works, from animal consciousness to artificial intelligence, from near-death experiences to ways of expanding our everyday awareness. But in many ways, we've just scratched the surface. The mysteries of consciousness continue to challenge and inspire researchers, thinkers, and curious minds around the world. As we continue to explore consciousness, we're not just learning about our brains or our minds. We're learning about what it means to be human, to be aware, to exist as thinking, feeling beings in this vast universe. So the next time you have a thought, feel an emotion, or simply notice the world around you, take a moment to marvel at the incredible phenomenon of consciousness that makes it all possible. And remember, every conscious moment is an opportunity to learn, grow, and connect with the world in new and meaningful ways. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of consciousness. I hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to keep learning about this fascinating topic. What are your thoughts on consciousness? How do you experience your own awareness? I'd love to hear your perspectives in the comments below. And if you found this video interesting, please consider sharing it with others who might also be curious about the mysteries of consciousness. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the wonders of your own mind.